Hi there. Okay, this is True Confessions now. I'm Susie. I am almost 70, but I'm talking about my early 60s and I'm talking about my social life because it was really going on back then. And I hope this can be encouraging to people who are in their 60s and feel like life is over, but you know, it's not. Especially if you're in the Atlanta area. I mean, plenty going on there. I guess any, big city type area. I mean, I'm in a very small town now and there ain't much going on. But that's okay because I don't feel the energy anymore that I can't do all that stuff that I was doing in my early 60s. Um, Part of that because I have a disease. I mean, most all of that reason is because I have a disease. If I didn't have this friggin' disease, I would probably still be trying to do all that stuff. But it's not the same here. In the Daytona area, there is not much going on. It ain't nothing like Atlanta, baby. Um, Atlanta got it going on, for sure. If you got the energy and it's, you know, it's different. Living in the big city is so much different from living in the rural areas. This is not rural, this is small town, it's not rural, but if you've been watching my show, I've pretty much lived it all. Poverty, rich, rural, city, West Coast, East Coast. I've been there, did that. So I'm coming towards the end of my story, but not yet. It'll be a little while still. So, True Confessions. Okay, so I joined this Celebrate Atlanta group, which is not a Christian group, but a very fun group, right? And I joined this Christian group also, both social groups, very similar, doing the same kind of social activities. Um, Both of them drink, but lightly. I never, ever came across a roaring drunk in either one of those um, settings. So, True confessions. Okay, one guy, I met him. Um, I went to a dance with my friend Reggie, who I met at Celebrate Atlanta. I talked about him in an earlier episode. Good friend, awesome guy. But he was, like 15 years younger than me. So, friends was all it was ever going to be. And I went with him to a Celebrate Atlanta event, which was like on the other side. I was on the northeast side of Atlanta most of the time, and this was like in Marietta. There was a some kind of thing going on, and I went with Reggie, and I was having a good time, and then um, this one guy came who I never saw before. He came and up to me and asked me to dance. And I had never done swing dancing. Actually, you know what? I might have just started at it right before, and I'm gonna have to go back and mention that because my first swing dancing, okay, it was at Craze, the place that I mentioned a few times. Fun place to hang out that got ruined because a car ran through the front windows of it and never opened up again. Anyway, I had so much fun there, met so many good people there. Anyway, so I was at Craze one night, and this guy who was always doing the swing dancing, and with a lot of different ladies, but he was a good dancer, and but I didn't pay much attention to it because I wasn't into that. I never did swing dancing. I didn't know how, so I didn't pay much attention. But he wanted to dance with me, So he said he would teach me. I told him I didn't know how, and he said he would teach me. So he took me into the side room at Craze, and he taught me in one song. He taught me the basic steps. He twirled me around a few times. He said, "You got it, you're ready." And we went out there to the floor and danced, and that was it. So he was one of my best dance partners ever. I'm going to tell his name is Steve. I don't think I know him well enough because he really became a very close, good friend to me. And I really, I didn't ask him, but I don't think he would mind that I mentioned his name. So that was Steve. He taught me how to swing dance in one song. It's easy. Swing dancing is very easy if you have any natural rhythm, you could pick it up in one song. Girls can. Now, I gotta say, every couple's dance is harder for men because they have to lead, they have to lead, and so they need to know it better than the girl because all the girl has to do is follow. And that's very easy if you have a good lead. So that's one place the man has to really step out and put some effort into it if they want to be a good couples dancer because they're the leader. And do it, guys, because it's so much fun. And you know what? It's one of the best ways to meet women. Most women like to dance, and it's exercise. If you're aging, it exercises your brain, which is good to help you, keep your brain active and all that. So do it. Go for some lessons, men. There's a million women out there waiting to dance with you. So anyway, I don't know if maybe I had just started swing dancing or maybe I never did. I don't know. I just started. I think I just started. So I was with Reggie at this dance and this other guy comes up, because me and Reggie are not like we're not together, we're both dancing with other people. And this guy comes up to me and asks me to dance, and he wanted to swing dance. I think I was just learning at the time, and that was cool. We talked a bit and found out that we lived real close to each other, and he wanted to bring me home. But I told him, I'm with Reggie, you know, I'm with Reggie tonight. He's going to bring me home. And I wasn't about to, drive home from Marietta to Alpharetta with this guy that I just barely met on the dance floor, right? So, anyway, that was how I met him. And then I think I'm going to call him Mike, okay? I'm going to call him Mike. That's how I met Mike. And then, like the following week, I went to Craze, like usual, and he was there. And he says, "I came here because I was expecting to see you here because, with the meetup groups, you sign up on the meetup.com. If you're going, you say you're going." So he saw I was going. So he said, "I saw you were going to be here. I came to see you tonight." So he bought me a drink and we danced and all night and had a great time. And I really liked him. I thought he was handsome and he was a good dancer. And he bought me a drink and, he had interest in me and all that. Everything seemed good. And then uh, I was ready to leave, and he said, "Can I walk you to your car?" So, yeah. He walked me to my car and ended up getting in and sitting with me, and we talked for a while, getting to know each other a little bit. And he kissed me, and gotta say, it was a really good kiss. And he felt it too. And after we kissed one time, he said at first, he said, "Wow," he said, "we have the chemistry." And he said, "It's like our mouths fit together just perfect, and I was feeling the exact same thing. So that was the beginning of something that lasted over 2 years. This guy, he, he got me. He hooked me. He was a great date. Then we started dating. He asked me out. He would wine me and dine me. And, really nice, always nice restaurants. And afterwards, we go back to his place or my place, and we just lay on the couch and watch TV, cuddle up. Um, he really, I fell in love with him. Didn't take long. He was awesome. And we had a lot of background similar. So, and he was only a couple years younger than me, 2 or 3 years younger than me. So it all seemed really good. It seemed like it might be perfect, even. Um, he went to my church, the same church, North Point. He was in both groups, Celebrate and the Christian Singles group. And, you know, it just seemed so perfect in the beginning. He cooked for me. He was awesome, but he told me right up front. He said, um, I don't want to be committed. I'm not looking for a committed relationship. He said that he really liked me a lot and he didn't have anything going on with anybody else. But he said if something comes up, if I meet somebody, I want to get to know them better. I want to date somebody else. He said, I want to be free to do that. He said, I'm not going to get into any kind of committed relationship. So I liked him so much, and he was such a great date. I liked him so much that I agreed with that. And that was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life. Never should have done that, but I agreed to it. I said, okay. So we had some kind of open relationship. He said, I want to keep seeing you. I really like you a lot. He said, but like I said, one thing, I want to be able to dance with other people. He was a really good, excellent dancer. He was way above my level. And so I couldn't take that away from him. He said, I want to be able to dance with other girls. And if I feel like it, which might happen, I want to be able to date. He said, but in the meantime, we'll get to know each other better and we will see each other. And we did. And it would, I fell in love with him. Gotta say, I really fell in love with him. He actually prayed with me. He was like the only date I ever had that prayed with me. So, of course, that made me feel like, he was it. It's gotta be it, right? But he did want to see other girls, and because we agreed on that open relationship, big mistake, um, I just figured, well, he's going to do it, I'm going to do it too. So I was dating other guys whenever I felt like it, you know, when we would have our regular dates, um, just me and him. But when we went to these group things, these group events, we would not be together. We would dance with other people, hang out with everybody. We wouldn't go to these group events like a couple, but we did have our alone time, often, regularly together for over 2 years. And like I say, I fell in love with him. I would have married him. But he was a player. He couldn't let go of all the other women. because there was many probably just like me that were in love with him, or at least they, had a lot of interest in him because he was an excellent dancer and good looking, and he would wine you and dine you and cuddle you and make you feel like you're, special and all that stuff. He was a player. And eventually, see, back then I didn't know about these things, but since I've been retired, I spend more time learning things and all. And I think he may have been a narcissist, probably. And that's not his fault, you know. Um, Probably had something to do with his childhood or his genes or something, I don't know, but I think he may have been one of them. And I feel sorry for him that because I think me and him could have really done well together as a couple. I think if we got married, I think we could have had a lot of fun and been good for each other, but he couldn't do that. So uh, that didn't happen. And that was um, obviously because I did feel like I was in love with him. It was a emotional heartache for me. Eventually, uh, for over 2 years, I just had fun with it, but I wanted more, and that didn't happen. And I will tell you coming up in future episodes how that played out. So, tell you about some of the other dates I had back then. Okay, there's so many. Oh my goodness. I got a list here. There's so many. Okay, so there's one guy and um he was in real estate and he was cool. As far as cool, I would say just because he um he had his shit together, you know? That's why he was cool. He had a nice house, he was making money. He liked to go out to nice places. He was a good dancer. He was attractive and all of that. So, I dated him a little bit. I really liked him a lot in the beginning, but the more I got to know him, uh, he was not for me. He was a native Georgia boy, and that's part of the reason he was not for me. He was a little too country for me, but he uh, was different. I mean, for me, he was different. Uh, but he was one of those attractive kind of guys that women would want to be with. Okay, so I had to explore that possibility. Um, when after we went out a few times, he took me out to dinner a few times, and one time he got angry all of a sudden. It was like all of a sudden he said, "That's it. Um, I've had it. I'm done." He said, "You're too damn religious for me." He said, you talk about God too much." And I'm like, "Well, okay, if that's the way you feel, because that's me. I don't talk about God all the time, but he is part of me. And he's part of my story, part of my life. And if you hang around with me a lot, it will come up once in a while, a little bit, because that's who I am." But after we hung out and dated a few times, you know, he said this, uh, and I don't even consider myself religious because to me, religion is going by a bunch of laws. You do this, you don't do that, and I don't consider myself that way religious. I I have a personal relationship with my Savior Jesus Christ, but I go by what my heart tells me is good or bad. I don't go by, you know, um, certain things that religious people do. I don't feel like they're necessary. They're not meaningful to me. Uh, Rituals, Yeah. So, fine. He didn't want to see me anymore. I was disappointed, but I was okay with that because if, if he can't, if he's not a spiritual person, I don't need to be with him. I don't want to be, stuck in a relationship with a non-spiritual person. So that was okay. Well, not long. I mean, like a week or two later, um, I go to a Celebrate Atlanta event, and he's sitting there at the bar and has an empty seat next to him. And he motions for me to come on over. And he says, "Hey, I saw you were coming. I saved a seat for you." Okay, he buys me a drink. I thought it was all done between us, but then he says, he starts talking to me like wants, to get friendly again. So, I think he asked me out again. And I said to him, let's make a deal. I said, okay, you told me I was too religious, so you didn't want to see me anymore. I said, now you're asking me out again, so we'll make a deal. I said, if you come to church with me, I'll go out with you again. So he did. He came to North Point Church. He enjoyed it. He said he never saw anything like it before. It's the most awesome church. Anyway, so he came and we started dating again. We got a little bit involved there. And it was good up until, again, a few more times I saw that this was really not for me. He was a little too different from me. So we stopped seeing each other. But let me tell you, he was ready because soon after that, like probably within a year after that, he ended up getting married to somebody else. So I probably maybe could have had him, but he was not right for me, and that's okay. That's a good thing. But he was a nice guy. We had some fun. So now it's time to stop, okay? Much more to come. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you can learn something from this, especially if you're trying to date. If you're in your 60s and trying to date, I think you can learn something from my experiences because I've had plenty, believe me, good and bad. Okay, love you all for watching. Thank you. God bless.